All right, so I'm at Main and 6th in downtown Boise, and just want to show what it's like as a pedestrian when you get bounced around due to lack of coordination of pedestrian detour routes and an attitude that every sidewalk is disposable, especially when a developer wants to do something. So all I want to do is walk from Main and 6th down to Myrtle and 6th. There's lots of great destinations along this stretch of 6th Street as well as on some corresponding streets. So sidewalk closed, crossed here. All right, I'm going to cross to the west side and follow the pedestrian detour. So now I'm going to be on the west side, walking south, headed toward front. Catch up with you when I get further down. All right, so I'm at 6th and Grove. Sidewalk crossed here, so I'm going to continue down across Grove, still on the west side of 6th Street, headed toward front. All right, so I'm approaching front, and what do I run into? I run into no sidewalk. I lead to open trenches that a person who's blind or vision impaired would walk right into. So not only is that an ADA violation, there was no indicator back up here that I needed to detour across. So here we are, because of lack of inspection, forcing out of direction travel and leading people with vision impairments into very unsafe conditions. All right, so now I'm crossing 6th, so I had been bouncing back a block later after walking a block out of my way to the east side and headed down. So let's see what this entails coming up. So I'm approaching front and 6th. Lack of care and attention to the sidewalk here could easily miss that barricade if somebody who was blind or vision impaired. Getting up here, ready to cross front. Just headed toward Myrtle, that's all I want to do. All right, so I'm almost across front, and I think I've reported this issue to ACHD before. These signs and cones are blocking the pedestrian access route. If I needed to go this way, I'm not, so I'm going to continue on my journey. Almost down to Broad Street. Catch up with you there. All right, approaching 6th and Broad. Got an open trench here, at least it's got some edging on it, so I'm going to be crossing Broad, heading south. Now the interesting thing here is someone who is blind or vision impaired has no idea that the sidewalk is closed ahead. The barricade was placed back there, but there's no audible cues or audible warnings that it's closed. So just like I experienced back on the west side of 6th up there, forcing out of direction travel to come down here to a sidewalk closure. So I get to bounce across the street again. Now the interesting thing is, if I were able to cross down there, I would at least have the protection of a traffic signal to stop traffic. Here, where the detour is forcing me to go, I don't have that protection, and I would argue that does not meet comparable accessibility as required by MUTCD. A much safer crossing protected by an intersection with signal controls than no signal controls. All right, so I've bounced across the street several times due to lack of coordination, lack of consideration of route continuity. Imagine if Fairview between, say, Cole and Milwaukee had 4 different projects that routed motorists in different directions. Would that be acceptable? Of course not. But this is what pedestrians are subject to when trying to just navigate a few blocks of downtown Boise, our highest pedestrian traffic area, and arguably where the highest number of people with disabilities are using our sidewalks. All right, so I'm finally able to reach a very simple destination of really only 2 or 3 blocks, 4 blocks, after being bounced across the street several times. And of course, there's not an adequate barricade here, not covering the pedestrian route. So that's it. That's what we make pedestrians do on a regular basis. It doesn't meet ADA compliance. And even if it did, causing out of direction travel and doing this really just does away with the spirit of things like ADA, and also proving just because something is ADA compliant doesn't mean it's safe or convenient. We can do better.